Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Nat. Today I'm sharing my April TBR and reading goals, aka the stack of books I hope to get through this month. Plus, a few themes I'm focusing on and how I'm shaping my reading life lately. I'm keeping things flexible but intentional, mixing in some classics as well as contemporary literature. There's a little bit of magical realism, feminist fiction, and some quiet contemplative stories. Basically, the kind of books that linger with you long after you finish them. So, for this month, we're setting a few gentle goals to stay inspired without the pressure. If you're building your own TBR or just love hearing what others are reading, I hope this gives you some ideas or even just that cozy feeling. Let's get into it. This April, I'm setting some realistic reading goals. I've just come out of a bit of a reading slump, so I'm focusing on reading more intentionally without putting too much pressure on myself. I'm aiming for about 3 to 4 books this month, enough to feel inspired, but still manageable with the work and everything else going on. I'm also trying to lean into slow reading more, really taking the time to enjoy the language and atmosphere of each book instead of rushing through a TBR. You know that feeling when you reread a sentence just because it's beautiful. So that's the energy I'm going for this month. The goal is to reconnect with the joy of reading, not to treat it like a checklist or a competition. I also want to pay attention to how certain books affect me emotionally or mentally. I think we all go through seasons of wanting different things from our reading. And right now, I am craving depth over speed. So, right now, I am in the process of finishing 1Q84, Haruki Murakami's exceptionally lengthy book, which often is split into three parts. I've always wanted to read 1Q84, but let's be honest, the size alone is intimidating. So I would start, stop, and restart the book again and again. But this time, after a slow start, I definitely got sucked into the surreal world Murakami crafted. I actually finished book one and book two in one night. It just pulled me in. 1Q84 is a genre blending novel set in Tokyo during the year 1984, or more accurately, what seems like 1984. It follows two characters, Ayomame and Tengo, whose lives start to drift into a subtly altered reality. There's a quiet, surreal tension running throughout the book, and everything feels slightly off in a way that's hard to put your finger on. It's a love story, a mystery, and a philosophical journey all rolled into one. You've got cults, alternate realities, ghost like figures, but it's also deeply human. The themes are so layered: time, loneliness, trauma, memory, fate, and that longing to be truly understood by someone. While I haven't finished the third part yet, I would say this book is long and slow in the best way. It invites you to sit with it, to notice the details, and live inside the world Murakami builds. The writing is lyrical and atmospheric, and while the plot moves gently, the emotional impact sneaks up on you. It's weird, it's haunting, definitely not for everyone, but if you like surreal, moody stories where reality has a soft echo of something not quite right, this book stays with you. Just a heads up, 1Q84 does contain some heavy and disturbing themes, so definitely look up content warnings if needed. Let me know if 1Q84 is on your TBR, if you've read it without spoilers, of course. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Did it confuse you? Did it captivate you? Or both? One of the books I'd really love to read this April is Until August by Gabriel García Márquez. This will actually be my first time reading anything by him, which I'm honestly really excited about. He's one of those authors I've always felt like I should read, but I just hadn't picked up yet, so this feels like a meaningful place to start. Until August was published posthumously in March 2024, a decade after Marquez's passing. It's a short, reflective novel about a woman who returns to the same island each year to visit her mother's grave. And during these visits, she allows herself one night of freedom separate from her usual life. It's a quiet, introspective story about desire, memory, and what it means to seek yourself later in life. I've read that it explores aging and emotional complexity with tenderness, and that the prose still holds that signature Garcia Marquez quality, lyrical, textured, a little magical. I've heard it's more understated than his earlier epics like 100 Years of Solitude, which honestly feels like a good entry point for me into Marquez's books. I'm curious to see how it feels reading Marquez through this final posthumous lens. There's something intimate and even bittersweet about stepping into an author's last work, knowing they didn't shape it for publication but left it behind anyway. I'll definitely report back on whether I think it's a good intro to his work, especially for fellow first timers like me. Another book on my radar this April is Tristana by Benito Pérez Galdós. I've been wanting to explore Spanish literature more, and this novel feels like a great place to start. Published in 1982, Tristan is one of Galdós' most well-known works, and it explores themes of love, independence, and societal expectations. The story follows Tristana, a young woman who ends up in a complex and controlling relationship with an older man named Don Lope. As she grows older, Tristana begins to question her role, her desires, and her autonomy, especially in a society that has pretty rigid expectations of what women should be. It's a story that still feels incredibly relevant. I'm really drawn to narratives that explore women wrestling with selfhood, especially in a historical setting where they're often denied choices. Tristana's journey from dependence to self assertion sounds like it's going to be both emotionally challenging and empowering to read. Also, if you're a fan of literary fiction that interrogates societal structures, especially gender roles, Tristana seems like it has a lot to offer. If I manage to squeeze in an extra read this month, I'd love to pick up White Nights by Fyodor Dostoyevsky. It's a short novella, but I've heard it packs up so much feeling into just a few pages. Published in 1848, White Nights tells the story of a young lonely man who spends nights wandering the streets of St. Petersburg. One night, he meets a woman named Nastenka, and they form a brief, intense connection over the course of 4 nights. The story explores love, longing, and the fragile beauty of fleeting human connection. It's also a little melancholic, a little dreamy. I think it'll pair beautifully with quiet evenings, maybe even read in one sitting with a cup of tea. Dostoevsky is known for his deep, introspective, psychological writing, and I'm curious to see how he handles something as delicate and ephemeral as a 4 night romance. There's something timeless about the story of almost love, especially when you're someone who spends a lot of time in your head like I do. And that's my reading lineup and goals for April. I'm really excited to dive into these books. It feels like a good mix of thoughtful, emotional reads that I can really sit with. It's going to be a month of slow, intentional reading, and I can't wait to share my thoughts with you as I go along. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books or if you're planning to pick one up this month. Also, feel free to share your own reading goals for April. I love hearing what others are reading, and it always gives me more ideas for what to pick up next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want more videos like this or not. Happy reading, and I'll see you in the next video.